For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thank you so much for tuning in today. 30 minutes of time-wasting fun, but hopefully something riveting. Hopefully some kind of conversation that'll make you think. Things that make you go, We're off to a good start, aren't we, folks? But my question to you today is family overrated? You know, you always hear about, blood is thicker than water, and people say that, my mom is my queen mom. And I kind of, both of those phrases, or when people say that, just kind of make me cringe a little bit. They kind of tighten my sphincter a little bit. There we are with the visuals in the first minute of the show. That's what you can expect for the next 30 minutes, and it starts on The Scribble right after this.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
JB here on The Scribble, talking family this week. Family. It's thanks to social media that everybody kind of opens up their family, right? You especially at, Christmas or whatever holiday, Thanksgiving or Easter or birthdays or whatever, we're really exposed to people's families quite a bit. And so I just, the ooey gooey, the family picture thing, we never did that growing up. Like you'd get the Christmas card and, the family would pose for, they'd go to the Sears photo mat or the photo studio and everybody would get dressed up. You'd have the fake background of a tree or whatever. And then some people would even just have that in their house, right, in front of the Christmas tree. And then you get the card. And we never did that as a family. So I don't know that I would have wanted to, but so I always remember thinking as a teenager when we'd get those cards, like, oh, it's so gross. It's just kind of weird. Now, let me give you the backstory about my family background, because that's obviously coming into play when I have these opinions and I share these stories with you. So I had two older brothers. I was the youngest of the three kids in the family. My two brothers shared well, we all shared a bedroom growing up. I don't know how old I was, but we had bunk beds. So the two of us stayed on the bottom bed. My oldest brother was on the top. And then we had gone to our friends one day, and we had come back, and my parents had basically carpeted the basement and kind of finished the basement while we were gone. Like, it happened like all in one day. So we come back, and my brothers had this brand new big bedroom downstairs, and then I had my own room in the room that we were in. So the bunk beds were gone, and now there was just a single bed for me, and then they had their two beds in the room. And okay, now great. But that, I think, made my brothers closer, because here they are growing up now when they're, again, I don't remember how old we were when this happened, but I was probably maybe 4 or 5. It's not like, or maybe 3 or 4, even, well, whatever. They certainly weren't in their teen years yet. But basically what my point is that they shared a room from the time they were, however old, 8 or 7, 8, 9 years old, till the time they were teenagers, and then by the time they moved out. So, I mean, they were adults sharing a bedroom, basically. So you obviously are going to have more of a close relationship with that sibling, because, you know, you shared a room, right? And they were also basically downstairs. It was almost like they had their own kind of mini apartment. They had the rec room, they had their bedroom. There was already a fridge and a freezer in the laundry room downstairs. So that was kind of their own little zone, right? I had my own TV and my own VCR in my bedroom upstairs. So that was kind of my own little world. And my brothers were both into sports. You know, they did hockey and soccer and baseball. I don't think, well, no, they wouldn't have been on the same teams because they're different ages, but they basically did the same sports. And then I was doing I was learning piano, I was doing the musical theater, I was doing the writing, I was doing the creative, I was the gay in the family, in case you haven't figured that out. And so that was kind of my thing. They had their interests, I had mine. I wasn't necessarily, I was going to say ostracized, that's not the right word. I wasn't singled out. Like, it wasn't, what I was doing, you know, wasn't poo-pooed on. Like, I never experienced that. But I certainly, once I got old enough and I was focusing on my career and I was, you know, writing and doing things like that, that was when I was getting shit on. But when I was growing up, when I was in, you know, elementary and junior high school, I was doing the school musicals and everything, just like my brothers were. So we hadn't gone on different paths at that time, because that was still during school. But the extracurricular activities, theirs were sports and mine was learning the piano. And so I ended up playing the piano at some, you know, family weddings and things like that. So I wasn't, you know, really made fun of for that, because I was getting positive attention from the family. So it wasn't really something that my brothers could make fun of, right? Because they couldn't play an instrument. And so here I, you know, am with this skill. So, and again, my brothers, you know, they were more, you know, calling me, you know, fairy and, you know, stuff like that. It was more teasing the gay thing, but not necessarily about my hobbies or anything like that, right? Because I was, you know, I was the girly, I was the feminine, which I wasn't even really super feminine. I wasn't like the gays, you know, in this new generation. I'm certainly, you know, you had to spend a lot of time around me to kind of pick up on the gay thing, and they did. But anyway, so I really wasn't, you know, my parents had each other, my brothers had each other, and I was just kind of off on my own. So I was very isolated. I didn't look to them for reassurance, because I knew that I wouldn't get that, right? My brothers were doing the hockey tournaments and getting the trophies and, you know, doing all that other kind of stuff. I won a trophy in a piano contest, or piano recital, or whatever you call it, competition. And you know, we were doing well in our respective activities, and that was fine. And then I always had a starring role when I was doing theater, even outside of school. I was doing, you know, professional theater. I wasn't even a teenager at that time. I did it into my teen years, but I started it as a kid. And so I kind of just looked to my own self. Like, I wasn't writing something because I wanted to be a writer. That was my big thing. I wasn't writing something and then running to my family, you know, to my parents and showing them and go, you know, I didn't need the pat on the head, because I knew that I wouldn't get that from them, from anybody in my household, in my family. So I just didn't rely on that. I just didn't depend on it. And I think about that now, because it makes me go and say, you know what? I didn't need that reassurance from the very, very ground level of my life and career. So it wasn't something that I depended on. When I see and I hear parents out now in public, and one of my aunts always used to call my cousins champ and princess. Oh, yeah, way to go, champ. Okay, champ, let's go. We ready to go, champ? Oh, makes me want to throw up. That's just so gross. Because, again, that's like, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. I didn't need that. That always made me kind of go, I know I can do it. I got this. Because I had that confidence. That's just the way that I was. I didn't have low self-esteem. I didn't feel like I wasn't good enough for things. And even if, people did tell me that, it still didn't stop me. If anything, that made me go, maybe try harder. It really did. So now, like I said about my teen years and focusing on my career, that was kind of where I hit this sort of point where the family didn't quite get it. We talked about on the show before about I was kind of poo-pooing education. And so because I wanted to be a journalist, you certainly needed a special degree. Well, you needed an education in that first, but you needed the diploma. You needed to kind of show that you'd finished a journalism course. Otherwise, they wouldn't hire you. But if you could prove it, if you had a good body of writing that you could submit as a portfolio or something, they might overlook that you don't have the degree. Not everybody can finish school financially or whatever the case may be. So when it came to my career, that's kind of where my family sort of strayed or not disowned me, because I was never really disowned, but didn't get it. They didn't get me. And I wanted to be an entrepreneur, right? Because I dropped out of school because I couldn't afford it. My parents weren't helping me, which is sort of very hypocritical, being that my dad didn't even graduate junior high school. Yes, my mom was a teacher for 30 some years, but if you're not going to help me pay for school, I'm not saying that I want to go to Australia. Mom, dad, give me the money. It's like, well, you want me to finish school. I get it. But unless you're helping me, you can't really criticize me, right? That'd be like telling me to move out, buy my own house, but I don't have the money or anything to do that. So you can encourage me, but unless you're helping me, you can't nag me to do something that is just not possible. So from that point on, even just in the family as a whole, the extended family as well, I was sort of looked at as this black sheep career-wise. The gay thing was never a problem. The gay thing has never been a problem in my family. The fact that I've got a hot husband that most of the women in my family would probably want to bang if he wasn't into me, maybe that helped a little bit. I have a very masculine, very manly, tattooed, ripped fitness model husband who all of the women think is gorgeous. And, so that's maybe, a little bit. But the gay thing, everybody's been fine with. I've never had an issue. I've never, and one of my sides of the family is very gossipy. And so it would get around to me if somebody called me a fag or whatever. I trust me, I would have heard about it. So that's never been the issue. The issue was, oh my God, he doesn't have a 9-to-5 job that he works for somebody. That's truly how I was made to feel, because I was doing my own thing. I was, writing my own stuff, and I was making money selling my writing and hosting, radio stuff and doing all this other stuff. That was looked at as being wrong. I remember I started to do red carpets. I was covering Canadian Idol. This is how far back we're going. 2007, maybe? I don't even know. 2007, yeah, around there. And I remember going to the first family get-together after I got back from this trip to Toronto. And I remember thinking, I'm going to be the big shot. I'm going to be the big shot because I have this story that nobody else in the family has. I covered a red carpet. It wasn't Hollywood at the time. I was at Toronto red carpet event covering Canadian Idol that most of the country was watching this show at the time. So it's not like nobody had heard of Canadian Idol. It was a big deal, in certain circles anyway. And so I thought, I was there. Everybody's going to be clamoring to talk to me and ask me what it was like. They're going to be, oh my God, that was so cool. Oh my God, show me the pictures. Oh, what was it like? Do you know what I got from one of my uncles? From one of my uncles, I got, so how come you got to go to that? So what if I wanted to go? How can I get in there if I wanted to go? Truly. And it's shit like that sticks with me today. Because from that point on, I never wanted to open up, at least to that, to whoever kind of gave me that attitude. So that this particular uncle, I never wanted to tell him professionally what I was doing at that point. Again, not that I needed the pat on the head, but it was show some interest, be proud. Even that, hey, that's pretty cool. Or probe and be like, oh, so how did you get into that? But not in the tone that you were asking me, which is, well, I could get in there. Tell me how I can get in. I can get in. And whether that was, you can always say, well, that's your perception. But that's truly how you said it. because it's not about the tone, it's not about the inflection, those were the words that you said, which was basically like, how can I get in there because you're nothing special, kid, is really what you did. So fast forward, almost 20 years now, and I sit there and go, that somebody that stuck with me, and I can't get past that. I just can't get past it. Though that kind of bullshit sticks with you. So when I was, again, around the same time, I had dropped out of college because I couldn't afford it. I was applying for jobs at newspapers. My brothers had already married and moved out of the house, so I inherited their room in the basement. And I had my own fax machine. I had my own phone line. I was very, very professional when I was a teenager. I guess I was early 20s now at this point. But anyway, I had a fax machine and I had my resume and I was looking at different journalism job boards and I was applying for jobs. And so my mom would hear the fax machine dialing from upstairs. And so, the fax machine, right? Beep, 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 the squeal of a fax machine. So she'd come downstairs. What are you faxing now? Because she could hear that it was a long distance number it was dialing. And I said, just sending my resume to, newspapers in Alberta. Well, why are you doing that? You haven't finished school. You don't live there. You don't have a car. Why would they hire you? Well, let me try, right? I mean, that's all you can do is try. So that happened the one time, comes down again a couple days or however long later. I was applying another one. I sent and I really was trying, I was grasping, like I was faxing to newspapers in, Minneapolis, the New York Times, Los Angeles Times, Texas, Florida. As soon as I saw a job for a reporter, I was faxing resumes everywhere, because you never know, right? So it happened again. Dial. She comes down the stairs. What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And she said, why don't you just give it up already? In that moment, I still hear her saying it, by the way. She was standing on the stairs. I was just walking through the basement. She didn't even come all the way downstairs to confront me, which is really kind of what she was doing. Why don't you just give it up already? And I went into my bedroom and I was just like, it's on. It is on. It's on. Now, I feel like most kids nowadays would be like, oh my God, my mom's, abusing me. She's talking down to me. There goes my self-esteem. I'm going to become a drug addict. I turned it the other way and I said, that is motivation for me. I'm going to make it. The fact that you're doubting me, fuck you. I don't care that you're a mom, that you just birthed me. A mom would be encouraging. Now, it's one thing to go and say, if I wanted to be, an astronaut, I'm going to fly around and I'm going to, okay, fine. You might want to try to talk down your kid a little bit and be like, no, it's not likely. Or I'm going to be I'm going to be an NFL star. Well, maybe not. Let's try to, right? But I want to be a writer. Like what the, seriously. And so I had to develop that edge really early on because I knew that I couldn't depend on the people within my family to boost me up, encourage me, pat me on the head, whatever. So I didn't even want that. I put up a wall. There was a wall now dividing me and everybody else in the family. Whether they said something to me or did something, like that or not, the wall was all encompassing. I was in my bubble now. Nobody's going to hurt me. I'm protecting myself. I'm going to keep doing this. I don't give a shit what you think. I don't care that you think that anybody can get into Canadian Idol or that anybody can, only certain people can be hired as a newspaper reporter. I'm going to do it. And I think that was the best motivation for me because that's now, fast forward, 20 years, how I've lived my life. Anybody telling me that I can't do it or it's not going to, well, I know what's reachable, what's unreachable, what's reasonable, what's unreasonable. I know that, right? You're an adult. You figure out what your skill set is. You know what you can do, what you're capable of, right? It's a little bit different. So I never depended on family to get that reassurance or to make me feel good about myself. So I found that within myself. What's the Whitney Houston song, right? The greatest love of all is, finding the love, that you have for yourself within you. I'm not saying that I was quoting Whitney Houston as motivation when I was growing up, but that was, I never, ever depended on family. So going back to the phrases that I said at the top of the show, which is, blood is thicker than water, family is everything, my mom is my queen. I mean, I've just never subscribed to that. Just never have. I'm not saying that it's resentment and that I hate that uncle, but I don't open up career-wise. And everybody, I think, in the family knows that, best-selling author, did the Hollywood stuff, celebrity interviews, paid to vacation, all this other shit, retired at 39. Everybody kind of, they might not know the specifics of it, but it's like, well, they know that I do something on the radio. They know that I do something in Hollywood. They know that I talk to celebrities about something. But I'm just not even willing to open up. It's kind of like, you know what? Let's have other conversation. Don't ask me about my career because I'm always going to be guarded. I'm always going to kind of have that shield up. My stuff is out there on the internet. So if you want to, look in social media, Uncle So-and-so, then go ahead and you can kind of piece it together and figure it out. You're a smart guy. So, I've always just faded into the background. I mean, everybody could go and say, well, we've got professionals in our family, we've got teachers, we've got this, we've got that. I mean, we don't have anybody that's gone and done Hollywood shit and free vacations and, free stuff and all this other stuff. So maybe they're just not interested in that. Maybe they don't find that to be cool or interesting. They all wanted to do, the kids and settle down and have the white picket fence and the station wagon or, whatever the typical family was, back then. But it's just strange to think that I was the rebel, like I was the black sheep because I wanted to do the entrepreneur thing, right? Like I didn't want to have the job that I hated every minute of. And so I kind of went on the different path. And look, I was the earliest to retire at the age of 39 in my family. So you can look at that and go, you can make me argue and say that, well, your parents were just trying to, protect you from being hurt. You know what? Hurt is okay. It really is. It's okay to have rejection and feel hurt. It's okay to have that setback and go, maybe I'm not good enough. I think back to, when you watched American Idol back in the day and you had these people that just genuinely believed they were really good singers, but they weren't. And the encouragement that these people were getting. And there's that realization that at some point, maybe you do it as a side thing, but you have that regular job. Like you're not going to be able to make a living off this. Do it as a hobby, but if it's your career, no. So if I'm not a good writer and I don't get work, well, I'm going to find a way to get paid doing it. And then, of course, fast forward a couple years, blogs and all that stuff comes around and, you're able, but I was able to, sell it. I was going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. But I wasn't kind of, the first time that I had a newspaper column published in a newspaper, I had gone, it was actually, was it a Florida paper? I can't remember. Somewhere in the United States. It wasn't even in Canada where I was living. That's how far reaching I was sending content. So I think it was Florida. They had PayPal'd me because, I didn't, it was just a one-time thing. So they PayPal'd me. And I remember printing out the PayPal receipt or like the, you've got money kind of a notification. I printed that on our home printer and I went upstairs and I said, look at this. I just got paid for something. And it was met with skepticism. Oh, so what's that going in? Oh, and I remember saying that, well, you know what? I'm making a name for myself. I'm making a name for myself. I'm putting my name out there. And my mom said, well, we don't want our name out there. Okay, not a problem. Boom. The next day, I changed my last name. I sure did. Do you know why I did that? Was because I felt that if I do become successful in my field, I was going to say famous. Well, in a roundabout way, I kind of was with the best-selling book and, making a name for myself in radio because I was able to get, access to red carpets before it went all to shit with these fucking TikTokers and YouTubers and podcasters. So I thought if my name is going to be out there, whether it's on the radio, in a newspaper, whatever it would be, that it's not going to be connected to my family. So my parents can't go and say, oh, that's my kid on the radio, in the newspaper. That's my kid. Because then people will be like, but he's got a different last name though. Like, why does he have a different last name? That's not your kid. Like, what's the difference there? And so that's where I was like, okay, I'm not going to make your name famous. Like, I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't becoming, I wasn't doing, Howard Stern bullshit or whatever that was kind of infamous. I wasn't doing anything like that at all. We don't want our name out there. Done. Got a different name. Seriously, the next day, I had a different name. Yep, that's fine. I won't use your name. So, sure enough, fast forward, a couple years, I've got a best-selling book. I'm on the news. I'm the Winnipeg Cheapskate in the newspaper. I'm on TV promoting book signings. Then I'm on the radio. I'm doing red carpets in Hollywood, live broadcasts, all this other shit. Different name. No connection to my family at all. No connection. Great. That's fine. I'll make my own name for myself, and that'll be my success. So again, the people who, constantly like need family, and I've seen some people, especially during the holidays, where, especially with Friendsgiving, I think is something that's the new term now, where you spend Thanksgiving with the people that you actually want to, not the family that you were birthed into, is that you choose. And I think I talked about that during our holiday shows a little while, right? In December, my show, I think we did a whole episode where I just said, it's about, if it's okay to be alone for the holidays. Really, I had no interest. We didn't want to go. My husband and I didn't want to go to Christmas last year. It's nice to see, the cousins or whoever, but we just don't have fun. We don't like kids. We don't like the noise of the kids running around screaming. It's just, it's too crowded. It's too, we really have very little in common with everybody. And again, it's not even the gay thing. We just don't, everybody's talking about their kids and the soccer and everything, the sports they're playing or what they're doing in school. And it's almost like a one-upmanship kind of a thing where it's like, oh, well, so-and-so's in this soccer tournament. Oh, so-and-so's, and you're like, I don't care that she plays basketball. Like, I have no interest. Just like you don't care about my life and my job and my marriage and my husband and, that we're traveling. He travels the world and is a fitness model, and I manage him, and we own different businesses and companies, and I retired at 39, and I really have all this staff that does the work for me. And like, I don't need that. I don't need the congratulations. I don't. And it even true, when I became a corporate writer, so this is between present day and in my early 20s, when I was a corporate writer at places, I never liked when I would write, let's say, a blog for a company, or I would, craft something, a press release or whatever it might be. I never liked when people told me, oh, that's a good article. Oh yeah, good job. I always hated that, especially coming from non-writers. It did not mean anything to me. Because I know you don't know anything about journalism or writing or PR, communications, whatever it is. So you telling me that it's a good article really means sweet fuck all to me, right? I mean, I don't know. I guess it's different than, I was going to say like a chef, if you made foods, well, think about Gordon Ramsay, right? He'll say that something tastes like shit. Meanwhile, your family's always told you that it's wonderful. Well, maybe you appreciate your family because they're sparing your feelings, and why would they lie to you versus the professional? I don't know which is the right one. It's up to you. It's how you take it. So for me, I never liked being told that, I like that column that you wrote, or, oh, that was a good interview. Even when I was interviewing celebrities, whenever somebody would say to me, well, that's a good question. Well, of course, that's what I do. Of course, it's a good question. Like, why, so I've always just found things like that to be so like, I hate that. I hate it. So back to the original question is family overrated? For me, in my personal situation, it really was. There were a lot of milestones in my family. We got married. We didn't do a big family thing because I just knew that the day would not be about me. It wouldn't be about me. It would be almost like it would somehow be about either my nephews or somebody who's maybe just had a baby or who somebody else who just got married and that's the first time everybody is seeing them since they got married, whatever. My wedding would not be about me. And again, I'm okay with that. I don't want anybody to think listening to this that I have this grudge or that I've got a chip on my shoulder. That's why we didn't go to Christmas. We're fine. We live our own life. We do our own thing. I don't need people to congratulate me on retiring at 39 or pretending or feigning interest in the celebrity that I interviewed, or we still go to the Emmys and red carpets and things like that. I know they don't care, so I'm okay with them not asking me a million questions or making me like that. I'm fine with that. I'm okay. I'm not walling. If I were to right now, if I just think about, okay, let's say my parents. When was the last time I thought about my parents? Probably a couple days ago. When was the last time I thought about cousin whoever? Maybe weeks ago. So I've got my own life, I've got my own life with my husband. We've got our own life, collectively one life together, and we do our own thing. And we're not relying so heavily. I mean, I bought my house. I didn't even tell my parents that I was shopping for a house when I was in my early 20s. They had no idea. I remember, we got to go. Okay. But I remember I had bought my house. So I was going around with a realtor, behind my parents' back. Although, I mean, again, I was in my 20s. I was an adult. They had no idea my mom had no idea that I was going and looking at houses. It wasn't until we really got to go? Let me finish the story. I've already started telling it. Yeah, no, that's fine. Okay. And then, okay. All right. Sorry. They're just talking to me in my ear. You can't hear them. So, I had bought a house and I waited. My parents were out somewhere. I don't remember where they were, but they asked me if I wanted to get, if I would go to Subway. We were going to get dinner. And I said, yeah, fine, whatever. Okay, well, we'll pick you up. So I was at our house. They, picked me up from the house. And then Subway was in one direction, and then the house that I bought was in another direction, but still kind of in the neighborhood. My house that I bought was about a 20-minute walk from my parents. So, still kind of the same neighborhood, like a 5-minute drive. So I said to them, okay, you actually go this way, like down, go down this street. And they're like, that's in the total different direction of like, why? And I said, can you just? So we eventually get to the street that I bought my house on, or that my house was on. And I said, okay, stop here. Okay, why? What? Like, what are we doing? What? And I said, that house right there, I bought that house. That's my house. And it was kind of like, what? Like, this shock. And I said, yeah, I bought the house. And my mom called me dumb. It was stupid. Yep. Because I didn't run it by her. I didn't check with her. I wasn't checking in. I wasn't needing her approval. I did it on my own. Now, why did I do this? Because when I initially started talking about a house, looking for a house, I wanted to go look at one in a different neighborhood, and I wanted her to go with me. And she said, it's too far. Meaning, it's too far away from me, your mother. That house is too far away from me, so no, I don't want you to have that one. Right? That's how selfish she was. She couldn't, I had to stay close. I had to be so close. So I kind of felt like it was very manipulative. It was very controlling. It was kind of, yeah, I'm not going to let you go that far. But yet you're telling me to move out anyway. So you can't really have it both ways, right? You either move or you're going to shut up about me moving out. And I'm not, and everybody truly did think that I was going to be that guy in his 30s and 40s and 50s still living with his parents. Nope. Nope, because I didn't have that support. Maybe if they were reassuring me and they were calling me champ and kiddo and you did it, good job. Well, maybe I would be still there. But at some point I had to break out and go, not good for my mental health. It's not going to be good for my self-esteem. It's going to drive me into the ground. I'm not going to want to, So I bought the house and, she was almost kind of, resentful or bitter about it, not happy that I did it. And that was when I kind of had to realize and go and say, you know what? So she's pissed off. Not my problem. It's my life. I'm going to be an adult now. I'm going to spread my wings and live now. I'm going to do this. And same thing, like, when I had 2 dogs, when I was in my house and, the one dog died and then I got another one. She wouldn't talk. She came to walk with us. She only thought that I had the one dog. Because I didn't tell her. I'm like, excuse me, bitch. I've lived in my own house for 10 years, so I don't understand why you're mad at me for getting another dog. You're mad at me. She did not talk to me the entire walk, and she would not even look at the puppy that I had. I kind of thought, wow. You're mad at me for getting another dog in my house. I don't have you like dog sit. It doesn't affect you at all, but you're pissed off at me for getting another dog. Oh, okay. I'm not living beyond my means. I'm not asking you to help pay for their dog food because I can't afford it. So somehow that was a problem for her. So that's where, again, is family overrated? For me, it certainly was. It wasn't encouraging. It wasn't supportive. It wasn't anything like that. And again, like I said earlier, the irony being, you'd think that would be about the gay thing, not about career, right? You'd think I'd be the outcast because of the gay thing. No, not at all. So tell me your thoughts. Live at jbonair.com. When you've kind of just come to think about it, is your family like really, 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 really important to you? Or are you just sort of self-sufficient where you can just kind of go and say, I don't need to be told that I'm good or successful or happy. You find that within yourself. Tell me your thoughts. Live at jbonair.com. We are so out of time. I've got to go. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com. Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a Speak Free media presentation.
If you want some real